You're listening to the How to Talk to Girls podcast, where you'll learn step-by-step how to meet and seduce beautiful women. Whether you're looking for one night of fun, a week-long fling, or a long-term relationship. I'm your host, Trip, and the episode starts now.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the How to Talk to Girls podcast. I'm your host, Trip Kramer from tripadvice.com. Got a new episode, got a new mic. I am so excited. And we have another voicemail. If you want to leave a voicemail and ask a question, you can do that. The number is 323-432-0025. I'm taking voicemails again, and we will put you on the podcast. We'll listen in, and we'll answer your question. And I'm getting good questions lately, and I love good questions because when I get good questions, then I like to answer them, and then I get to help you out. So it's great to be back and doing this. Just a couple of announcements. If you don't already know, my book Magnetic is out and available on Amazon. It's available on paperback and Kindle. Soon, so soon, it will be available on audio, an audiobook, which I'm sure you probably would like that because you obviously like to listen to audio because you're listening to this podcast right now. But it takes a while to get approved and get up there. So, and it is me narrating it, so you'll hear this lovely voice reading off the book, Magnetic. Cultivate confidence, become rejection-proof, and naturally attract the women you desire, which is 160 pages of pure techniques and action items. So go pick it up at your local internet store today, i.e. Amazon. And like I said, you'll be learning the whole system that I have in terms of attraction. So if you're like, I listen to podcasts and it's cool, but I need more of a how-to guide from beginning to end, this is the way to go. And it's a very fast read, easy read. You're going to love it. You're going to understand it. And every chapter has got action items because I don't like you just reading and listening and watching. I like you to get results. That's what this is all about. We're not just here to just give you fluff, but we want to make changes in your life. And I want to be the guy to assist you in that. So let's make changes. Go check out Magnetic on Amazon today. All right. So let's get into today's episode. We got a voicemail. Here it is. Listen up.
Hey, Trip. My name is Rich. I have a question about first dates and then leading to second dates. For some reason, I've gotten into the habit that I'll have in my opinion, a good, if not great, first date. But then the other person decides it's not for them, or they ghost. So I'm not really sure what I'm doing wrong, because the dates go pretty well. We'll spend all night chatting, developing a good vibe. There's tension, entertainment, and just want some feedback about that. So I hope you can help me out. It'd be great if you can answer my question sometime. Thanks a lot. Bye.
All righty. So, good question. Let's talk about this. Why aren't you getting a second date? What's happening? Why can't you get the woman to meet up with you again? And is it something you're doing? Is it something you're saying? What's going on? Well, it's hard to say, right? I can never know for sure why you're not getting the second date because I'm not there. I don't know if you're talking weird, you're saying something, you turned her off, but it sounds like you're doing this quite a bit. Something's going on where you're getting that first date, but it's not turning into a second date. I have a couple of ideas and I wanted to share them with you. Here's the thing. It depends where you're meeting these girls. Are you meeting them online? Because let me tell you something. A lot of online dates don't turn into second dates. They just don't. And the reason is because they really barely know you. They're kind of giving you a shot. So you're not really going in with much attraction. You're going with interest. You're not really going in with any investment. They're somewhat attracted, they're interested, but they're not invested in you yet. Now, if you were to meet a woman off of a cold approach, which I talk a lot about, by the way, in the book Magnetic, is going out and meeting women in person and not just using apps, well, you already get a lot of attraction and a little bit of investment because they already know who you are. So they know what to expect. So on the first date, all you got to do is just be a cool dude. Don't be weird. Enjoy the first date. Enjoy yourself. That's a concept called entertainment that I talk about. Hopefully you're enjoying yourself through the whole process. And pay for the date because I think it is the right thing to do because you're the one who's asking them on a date. And that's it. You should actually end up nailing it. I mean, really, first dates are not that big of a deal in terms of doing well if you met the girl on a cold approach. However, if you're meeting this girl online, you got more chances to possibly screw up. Because if you already are able to get numbers and dates from a cold approach, then you already know how to trigger attraction, you know how to converse. You're probably already at a level where you're pretty good. So the first date should go well. But the first date's not going to go well necessarily if you're on an online date because, again, maybe you just don't know how to converse with women. You don't know how to pull the attraction triggers, right? Makes it a little bit more difficult. So that's something to think about. And then it's like, okay, well, how do I do good on the first date? Well, really, you should be practicing and applying the principles that I talk about in my book, Magnetic. Not to plug it a million times, but I do talk about it in there. I talk about it on the podcast as well, tension, entertainment, and dominance. And being able to use those tension, being able to create sexual tension with her, entertainment, having a good time with yourself so she has a good time. I just mentioned that a second ago. And dominance is leading the interaction forward. I would say that in this case specifically, dominance would be going for the kiss at the end of the date. I'd say going for it. So you can actually get her more interested because you guys have broken the physical touch barrier. And I think that you should also be leading it to the bedroom. Because if you don't know already, that women like sex, they want to have sex, but they want to do it with a guy who's going to make them feel safe and a guy that they're attracted to. So one of the best ways to get a woman more invested is to actually have sex with her. And you'll be probably invested too, depending on, I guess what happens there. So you're getting to know her, you're getting to know who she is, and if she's cool and you are interested in her, then move it to the bedroom. There's no reason why you shouldn't. Why not? A lot of people have this belief that, I want to get to know him for a while. I mean, are you trying to make a friend? Or do you want to see if there's a sexual connection there? Because wouldn't it stink if you go on 3 to 4 dates with a girl and you get to know her and she's awesome and then you guys have sex and there's just no chemistry there? Now, I'm not saying that you have to, meaning if she doesn't want to, then you're not going to do it. But I always think that you should try and go for it. Again, she says no. That's fine. It's not like, it's been 4 dates and she won't do it. I mean, you're not going to force her, right? We're not going to do that here. But you don't know if she's interested or not unless you try. And you should try. And you should go for it so you can see if there's a physical connection. By the way, this is all assume that you want a relationship. If you're just looking to have fun, then obviously you're only looking for casual. And at that point, you're probably not doing much getting to know. Maybe you're just kind of hanging out, having a good time, and then you're already just moving it forward to sex. That's fine, as long as she's on the same page. Let's not lie to girls. That's the worst thing. Is a lot of guys are so scared. They're like, I have to lie to her to get her to have sex with me because women don't want casual relationships. It's like, yes, they do. There's a lot of women out there who are not looking for anything serious and want casual relationships. And you'd be surprised if you're just upfront with them and let them know that they actually, a lot of them don't care. Depending. Some do, some don't, but more than you think are interested in casual relationships. Okay, so let's go back into first dates. Now, more on this first date situation. I'm going to give you a little technique you can use. Or I should say it's more of it's a technique. It's a tip and it's a technique at the same time. And what this is something that you can do that's kind of ballsy, but you'd be surprised actually works. Because, like I said, I don't know what you're doing on this first date that's getting girls to not like you. Okay, like I said, could be a bunch of different things. I kind of already listed them. You're boring, you're not conversing well with her, you're not giving her eye contact, you're very nervous, you're very shy, you're talking too much about yourself, you're not talking enough about yourself, so she doesn't get the chance to know you. So all these things could be happening. You don't really know what's going on. So what can you do? Well, here's one idea. This is out of the box here. If a girl doesn't want to see you again for a second date, just give her the opportunity to tell you why. You would be surprised how many women will just be upfront and honest. Some won't. They'll be like, sorry, I just didn't feel a connection. But ask them. Ask them. You have nothing to lose, right? Who cares? They're out of your life anyways. So say to them, over text message, hey, I know this is going to sound different, but I'm just curious, just for my own sake, is there any specific reason why you weren't interested in having a second date? No worries what the reason is. I'm just curious. It's for my own personal growth. Say something like that. Copy those words. Make it in your own words. But that's the basic idea. Just letting her know, hey, cool, no worries, all good, so she knows that you're not going to keep texting her. Say, all good, totally cool. I just like to know for my own personal growth and, for myself in terms of meeting the right person, is there anything that happened on the date that turned you off? Is there any specific reason why you're not interested? And see what she says. Some girls will be like, you know what? Wow, that's cool. Fuck it. I'm just going to tell him. And then boom, you end up learning something very interesting. Now, listen, this is not for the faint of heart. If you're not prepared to hear something that's going to be a critique on you, well, don't ask this question. But I encourage you to get some thick skin, put yourself in what's called a growth mindset, so you can listen to criticisms and you can say, okay, cool, there's something I need to work on and I can try to get better. I mean, really, that's the best way to go. I, over the years, have always had what I would consider fairly thick skin because I'm more interested in learning about what I can do better and not having to save my ego from hearing something that I don't want to hear, okay? I mean, it's going to be more beneficial for you in the long run to hear something about yourself that might be a little bit harsh or a little bit of a criticism, when then you can just fix it or tweak something, and then boom, now you're growing. And then you can start getting better results in your life. Of course, it's going to sting. And I'm not saying that I'm a robot here. Yes, when I hear criticisms, when I ask them when I want them, it does sting because no one likes to hear things that are bad about themselves. But I don't let it take me over. I just kind of accept it and say, okay, cool. So that means I need to kind of work on that. Sometimes I do that with friends, do that with family, just random conversations where it comes up, and you just learn about yourself. I actually heard once, this was pretty intense. I heard this once from another coach. I forgot who said it. You can do something where you send a questionnaire, like a survey, like a form on Google Forms, and you can send it to all your friends and family, and you ask these really personal questions. You're asking them to just critique you as a person, as a human being. Like, is there anything I need to work on? Is there anything I can be better at? What am I already good at? And you ask them to do it and remain anonymous, and they'll be encouraged to do it. And all of a sudden you get all this feedback on you as a person. I've never done that, but I've heard that before. And wow, pretty powerful. I mean, can you imagine getting all that feedback? Not easy to hear that stuff, I'm sure, right? But you don't have to do that. That's just something I heard. If you're like, whoa, that sounds cool, maybe I will do that just to go into super growth mode. But that's the basic idea here. You're just asking her and seeing what she says. She might just be like, she might not respond. Or she might say, oh, no, you're a great guy and whatever. I just didn't feel a connection. Okay, that's probably a half lie. I'm sure there's always something. But give her the opportunity to say that. And if she responds, be cool. Say, wow, thank you. I really appreciate you responding to that. Good luck out there. Say that. Say that. Don't just be like, oh my God, how could you say that? Or defend yourself. Don't get defensive. That was her experience. She experienced it. Don't get defensive. That's just, that's the situation here. And you're going to grow from it. So try it out. Otherwise, how do you get a second date? Well, like I said, give good eye contact. Ask interesting questions. Ask questions that you want to learn about. Also, I have a page in the book in Magnetic where I have all these questions that are really cool to ask when you first meet her on a date. And you can check those out if you get the book. But yeah, ask interesting questions and just get to know her and have a good time. Just relax, let loose. Don't think about this as something too serious. And make sure that when you're with her, you're not putting her on any kind of pedestal. Don't compliment her too much. Don't give her too much validation. Unnecessary. Because it's bullshit anyways, right? It's like, do you really mean that? Or are you just saying that because you want to make her think that you're a nice guy? Probably that. So just forget the compliments. If anything, do the opposite. Don't diss her, but tease her a little bit. Have fun. Tease her a little bit. I always like calling girls nerds. It's fun to call a girl nerd for any reason. Just showing her that you're playful, you're fun. It's a little tease. It's harmless, but doing something where you're not showing her that you're desperate or needy. Okay. So let's stay away from that. And you should have a successful first date. of course, dress your best too and make that work for you. And I have another section also in Magnetic where I talk about style. So that is something that you can learn about there too. So you know how to dress your best for any situation where you're meeting women or dates, anything like that. All right. So that's it. That's the episode. So check out the book Magnetic for the millionth time. Hope you learned something. You got a voicemail you want to leave? 323-432-0025. Love to hear from you. Get you on the podcast and listen. Sound good? All right. Talk to you soon.